In a small town, a young boy named Ethan had a special plan for his mother's birthday. At just 9 years old, Ethan was observant and perceptive, always paying attention to details that others might overlook. His mother, a dedicated doctor in Madison, Wisconsin, worked long hours and always came home with tired eyes but a smile reserved just for him. "Ethan," she would say, "no matter how hard the day is, seeing you makes it all worth it." Those words were Ethan's fuel. Ethan knew his mother's daily sacrifices. With her birthday approaching, he decided that this year would be different. He didn't want to just write her a letter or pick flowers from the park like before. He wanted to give her something special, something that would show her how much she was valued. But special items cost money, and Ethan didn't have much. For months, he saved every penny he could. He would shovel snow off the sidewalk in the winter and help neighbors with groceries for a few coins. He even saved the money his mother gave him for snacks, stashing it in a jar hidden in his room. When the big day arrived, Ethan counted each coin carefully. $5.72. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. He put the coins in a small bag, grabbed his backpack, and headed to the only jewelry store in town, a modest place run by an elderly couple, the Goldsteins. The store was small but welcoming, with neat glass cases under yellow lights. The cases held bright, delicate jewelry and rings that seemed far too expensive for a boy with less than $6. Behind the counter stood Mrs. Goldstein, her gray hair pulled back in an elegant bun. She greeted him with a warm smile. "Hello, young man. How may I help you today?" Ethan hesitated, clutching the coin bag. "I'm looking for something for my mother. It's her birthday next week." Mrs. Goldstein smiled even wider. "How sweet. Do you have something in mind?" Ethan replied shyly, "Something special. But I don't have much money." Mrs. Goldstein leaned in to meet Ethan's eyes. "Let's see what we can find. What's your budget?" Ethan placed the bag of coins on the counter. "That's all I have." She opened the bag and counted the coins carefully, respecting Ethan's efforts. $5.72, she said gently. Scanning the display cases, she picked up a small gold heart-shaped pendant. "This one is special. It's pure gold, but it's part of our old stock. I might let you take it for what you saved." Ethan's face lit up. "Really? She'll love it." As Ms. Goldstein began to wrap the pendant in a small box, the sound of tires outside caught her attention. A black SUV pulled up in front of the store, and a tall, elegant man got out, accompanied by 2 security guards. It was Barron Trump. His presence changed the atmosphere of the store in an unexpected way. Ethan stepped back, gripping the edge of the counter as Barron Trump approached. His height and presence were unmistakable. Even the Goldsteins, who had seen many local celebrities, were impressed. Mrs. Goldstein quickly composed herself. "Good afternoon. How may we help you today?" Barron Trump offered a polite smile. "I'm looking for a gift. Something elegant but meaningful." Ethan tried to make himself invisible, hiding a little while the security guards scanned the store. His heart was pounding in his chest. For a moment, he considered leaving, not wanting to be in the way. Barron Trump looked around the store, his gaze falling briefly on Ethan before returning to the display cases. Ethan couldn't help but feel a small thrill. He never imagined meeting someone so famous, especially in a small jewelry store in Wisconsin. Suddenly, Barron Trump's voice interrupted Ethan's thoughts. "What is this?" he asked, pointing to the box in Mrs. Goldstein's hands. She hesitated, looking at Ethan. "It's a small pendant this young man is buying for his mother's birthday." Barron Trump stepped closer, looking at Ethan, who was still silent. "That's a nice gift," he said, his tone genuine. Ethan managed a small smile. "I saved up for this," he said quietly, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. Barron Trump's expression softened. "For your mother?" Ethan smiled again, this time with more confidence. "She works hard. I wanted to give her something special." For a moment, the store was silent. Even the security guards seemed to relax a little, their stern expressions softening as they listened. What Barron Trump did next surprised everyone, leaving Ethan, the Goldsteins, and even the guards speechless. He turned to the counter, his eyes fixed on the small box. There was a quiet intensity in his gaze, as if he were trying to understand more than just Ethan's words. After a moment, he spoke again, this time addressing Mrs. Goldstein. Could you show me something similar? Something indescribable but meaningful, like that pendant, he said, pointing to the display case. Mrs. Goldstein nodded, carefully removing a small gold star-shaped pendant. It gleamed under the shop lights, delicate but dazzling. Barron Trump examined the pendant for a moment before turning to Ethan. Do you think your mother would like this instead? Ethan was speechless, unsure of how to respond. It's pretty, but I don't have enough money for it. Barron Trump smiled, placing the pendant on the counter. Don't worry about the price. Consider it my gift to you and your mother. Ethan's eyes widened, disbelief washing over his face. Are you serious? Absolutely, Barron Trump replied. What you're doing for your mother, saving money, working hard, wanting to make her happy, that's something special. Not many people would go to that length. The room was filled with excitement as Barron Trump took out his wallet and handed his credit card to Mrs. Goldstein. She hesitated for a moment, looking between Ethan and Barron Trump before processing the purchase. Ethan's voice shook. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Barron Trump leaned in slightly, meeting Ethan's eyes. Because sometimes when we have the opportunity to make someone's life better, we should take it. Your mother sounds like an amazing person, and she deserves to know how much she means to you. And so do you. Ethan looked at him, tears in his eyes. Thank you, he said, his voice full of gratitude. Barron Trump smiled again, this time with a calmness that filled the room. You're welcome. Just give her the biggest hug when you give her the gift, okay? Mrs. Goldstein handed Ethan the box containing the gold pendant, now wrapped in beautiful paper. Ethan held it carefully, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. But the moment was not over yet. What Barron Trump said next left everyone in the store reflecting on the true meaning of friendship and generosity. Mrs. Goldstein, who had witnessed countless interactions over the decades at the store, looked visibly moved. That was really beautiful, she said softly, her voice shaking slightly. Ethan turned to Barron Trump, his small hands still holding the box carefully. He struggled to find the words, but her wide eyes and the glow on her face spoke volumes. One of the guards, who had remained stoic until that moment, cleared his throat. You know, sir, he said with a rare smile, not many people would go to the trouble of doing something like that. Barron Trump looked at him, his expression calm but thoughtful. Kindness costs nothing, he said. It's something anyone can give, no matter where they come from. You may have given Ethan a moment he'll never forget and a memory his mother will cherish forever. Ethan looked up, his voice shaking as he spoke. She always tells me to be kind to people because it makes the world a better place. I never thought I'd see someone do that. Barron Trump smiled again, but there was a hint of sadness in his expression. Your mother is right, Ethan. Ethan couldn't stop staring at the box in his hands, imagining his mother's expression when she opened it. The thought brought a rush of emotion he could barely contain. As Barron Trump prepared to leave, he placed his hand briefly on Ethan's shoulder. Remember this, he said gently. Barron Trump smiled, his tears now falling. I will. The Goldsteins, still stunned, exchanged a look. Barron Trump had taught them what really mattered. As the door closed behind Barron Trump and his entourage, Ethan looked at Mrs. Goldstein. Can I come back here sometime? When I have more money? Mrs. Goldstein smiled. Ethan, you're welcome here anytime. And next time, you'll have to tell us how much your mother loved the gift. As Ethan walked out of the store, clutching the gift close to his chest, he still didn't realize the impact of what had just happened. Ethan left the house with a spring in his step, the small box clutched in his hands. The afternoon sun seemed warmer, brighter, as if the world had changed a little. His mind raced with anticipation, imagining the moment his mother would open the gift. When he walked into his modest apartment, his mother was folding clothes on the couch. She looked up and smiled, her face lighting up in a way that made all of Ethan's hard work worthwhile. Hey, kiddo, she said, brushing a strand of hair out of his face. How was your day? Ethan smiled, trying to hide his surprise. It was good. You'll see why next week. His mother smiled, shaking her head. You're always up to something, aren't you? For the next few days, Ethan kept the gift hidden in his room, checking the box every night to make sure it was still there. When his mother's birthday finally arrived, He couldn't wait another second. "Mom," he'd said that morning, holding up the small, wrapped package. "This is for you." Her hands paused in midair, her expression changing from curiosity to pure joy as she opened the box. The gold star pendant glinted in the light, and tears streamed down her eyes. "Ethan, it's beautiful," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Ethan nodded. "You're the best mother in the world." She pulled him into a tight hug, her tears now falling freely. "You didn't have to do this. Having you is the best gift I could ever ask for." Even though Ethan was immersed in the calm of the moment, his thoughts returned to the jewelry store and the kindness of a stranger who made it all possible. Over the next few weeks, Ethan told everyone who would listen what had happened that night. His story spread, and even his mother's coworkers admired the generosity of someone as prominent as Barron Trump. But Barron Trump's act was not about fame or recognition. It was a silent reminder of something Ethan would carry with him for the rest of his life: the power of kindness. The kindness Ethan learned was priceless. It wasn't about money or status. It was about seeing someone in need and choosing to make a difference, no matter how small. In the years since, whether it's helping a friend, supporting his mother, or offering a kind word to a stranger, Ethan has made it his mission to pass on the compassion shown to him that night. And in the end, isn't that the kind of world we all want to live in? One where small acts of kindness create ripples that turn into meaningful change. So if there's one thing to take away from this story, it's this: never underestimate the power of a single moment, a single action, to change someone's life. And who knows, maybe that single act will inspire others to do the same. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and share it with someone who might need a reminder of the beauty of kindness.